Heyo everybody, Haku here, gonna talk about One Piece for a bit. I kinda sorta recently did a similar video. I say recently as if it probably wasn't a few months ago even. Did a video like this with Tower of God where I was like, I just have a bunch of stuff to talk about, so I just want to sit and talk about the series. I didn't take any notes for this, I'm just gonna talk about it in general. And what kind of spurred this on is when I made that update video a few weeks ago, somebody in the comments asked my thoughts on One Piece, and I gave them the same thing that I've been telling anybody about One Piece basically since Wano ended, and that's that I think pre-time skip One Piece, nearly perfection. One of the closest stories you can come to being like, wow, that's like perfect. Post-time skip One Piece, noticeably less good, but still good. Like from Fishman Island, all the way from Fishman Island to Whole Cake, it's like noticeably less good than pre-time skip One Piece, but it is still good. And then Wano, one of the worst. I find it hard to say the worst shonen manga arc I've ever read, but it's up there. Like Naruto's Final War was bad, Bleach's Final War was bad. There are a lot of bad arcs in The Promised Neverland. So I find it hard. Fairy Tail has a couple stinkers, so it's like I find it hard to say like, oh, the worst shonen manga arc I've read, but it's up there. Wano's awful. Wano is terrible, especially reading the stuff after Wano and then looking back at Wano, it's terrible. And then what I said was, after Wano, things have been all over the place. I haven't hated it, but the magic of One Piece was just gone, killed by Wano. It was gone after Wano. But after doing that, after answering that comment and stuff, I went back and I reread the past post-Wano stuff, even looked back at Wano a bit, and I've got to say I really actually like the post-Wano stuff. I really like it. Is it like, oh, the best One Piece ever? Probably not. I mean, like, old school, like, Sabati and Enies Lobby and Water 7, all that still exists. But it's really good. I actually really enjoy the post Wano stuff, and it's so interesting to me to look at it because not only did I read through again and marathon everything, and taking a step back and looking at it as a whole, it's way more organized than I thought. It's like not just jumping around so much. There's a real purpose and organization to how it's been done. That's been really good. And again, it's like that was not in Wano because I not only read, but I watched people's videos on it, and I watched all of, for example, this is a good example to use, all of Roger's Base's reactions, and in the discussion portion of those, one of the things that I enjoyed is there's always people saying, look at this chapter, and there's so many little small details that link together. With chapter numbers or with small hints, and I'm always like, when people do those theories where they have like numerology and all these silly small hints, I'm like, yeah, but is there, how often does that actually like line up with things that do actually happen in the story and had foreshadowing a ton of time back? But it does, it lines up kind of a lot. The stuff with Stussy was interesting. Spoilers for up to current chapter, what is it, 1086? I'm going to be talking about everything up to there. It's so interesting, the Stussy stuff, like when she first shows up, she's drinking giraffe juice, and then when Miss Bucking first shows up, she's wearing like leopard print. So it's so, I don't know, little things like that, like the ship that Frankie finds all the way back in his backstory being the Mads ship from the cover story. It's so interesting how many like little cool things there are and callbacks to previous chapters, and how detailed all the stuff with the Reverie, how all the stuff with the Reverie matches up so perfectly to all these cuts we were seeing in the middle of Wano and stuff, and we're like, huh, I wonder what that was all about. Whatever, that was cool, that was neat, but it was so much deeper than what we knew. Now that we know the like full story of the Reverie, basically, how we see how well this connects together, and it's like it's done so well. All of these plot points that are coming through post Wano have so many connections and setups, and it's so odd that they do when even big things in Wano, like the deaths in Wano seeming to be drawn randomly out of a hat. Why'd Ashuradoji die? I guess he wanted to, but it seems kind of weird. We didn't really focus too much on that. Izo died, but then we never get a scene with Kiku at all, like react live Kiku reaction, none of that. It's so odd how messy and sloppy and awful Wano was, seeing how really dialed in. I always said that it sucks to me because I love One Piece, but the past 4 years, like when I was doing reactions, I'm like, the past however many years, I've been reading Wano Piece. I'm ready for One Piece to come back because Wano Piece is garbage. It's not written like the rest of the series at all. In looking back on it, after seeing what comes after, it's so strange that it's not written like the rest of the series at all, because it is bad. It is so awful on hindsight, and I just do not get it. I don't get it why it's that bad. But I want to move on and talk about the good stuff that comes afterward. And honestly, with the exception of one thing that I guess I'll talk about, the one thing that I find it hardest to forgive, it should be obvious if you watched my videos, from Zoe all the way, I did weekly One Piece videos, all the way from Zoe through to like the end of Wano, and then eventually after 2-3 years of covering Wano week to week, I was like, I can't do it anymore, I gotta tap out, this shit stinks, brother. So I covered the channel a lot, and if you watch, you can probably guess what the one thing that bothers me most is, but a lot of it, it's like, okay, Izo died. Going into Wano, did I care about that? Coming out of Wano, do I care about that? Most of the things like that are small. I think Kinemon's another big one that people mention. Kinemon probably should have died. Like, that's obvious. I feel like the majority of people think that. I think it would have made more sense for the story, and it was a really good death if the death had stuck. Or like bringing up the like Zoro backstory stuff and then saying in an SBS, it wasn't really that important. It's like, why'd you waste all our time with it then? And another thing is we're actually getting to see things happen post-Wano. For, again, those of you that weren't watching my videos, for the longest time, my biggest complaint, something I said again and again, my complaint with Wano, was that we were constantly, we would cut to a group, and this group would be traveling from somewhere to somewhere else, and they'd say, wow, can you believe, and they'd talk about what happened when they were at the last place they were at. Then we'd cut to another group traveling and saying what happened before they left the last place they were at. And it was constantly actions, things that were happening off screen, while what happened on screen was the group telling us about what happened off screen. And that was like a constant through all of mainland Wano. Then we finally get into Onigashima and we're seeing things happen on screen, and then towards the end, the last like 20 or so chapters of it, we fall back into the mainland Wano thing of people going from place to place talking about what's happening, but us not actually seeing the fights on screen until we finally get like one finale chapter for at least some of the fights, but not all of them. And it's like this arc was years long. What was it, like 140 chapters plus? You could have shown this on screen, or if you were going to write it this way, you could have shortened it to a fourth of the runtime. It's ridiculous. But we're back actually seeing things, and I'm really, at first, I wasn't feeling the Egghead stuff that much just because of my disappointment coming out of Wano. Wano sucked, and the endings, like, particularly sucked. So I just was not feeling it. Even when we went into Egghead, I liked the stuff with Kobe and Hancock and Blackbeard, and I was liking a lot of the stuff that we were seeing, but I was just like, the magic is gone. But the more I read and the more we actually get into the different Vegapunk's characters, and I love York. I think York is like a great little arc villain or whatever. I really enjoy the York stuff, even though we really haven't seen a lot since the traitor reveal. So I'm so excited to see what this is going to be. It's so exciting because I can't predict what comes next. I like the art character stuff. I love the stuff with Luffy and Lucci working together. I love that even though Luffy is somebody who's defeated Kaido, even though he's somebody who has Gear 5 now, Magical God Devil Fruit, things aren't just easy for him. He went kind of evenly with Lucci. I mean, you can obviously say that he wasn't like really trying, because if so, we can beat Lucci. Lucci's not a Yonko. But at the same time, I like that there was drama there. I like that it was kind of even and Luffy wasn't trying to beat him. He was just trying to get out of there. And that Lucci immediately got right back up after Luffy ran off. So again, I really like that. I like them working together. I like that the fight against the Seraphim is an actual struggle. It really makes it feel like the Seraphim actually are built to be the strongest creatures on the sea. It feels good that the things we're being told by the story are actually like also being seen in the story. I like all the character work that's been happening. I mean, obviously, Usopp hasn't done much. He hasn't done much post-time skip, period. Same goes for Chopper. There are certain characters that I've just gotten used to. Hey, they were good pre-time skip. They're not doing anything post-time skip, apparently. Except for small things here and there. I mean, Usopp getting Haki, though it was never mentioned again pretty much, was nice back in Dressrosa. Chopper doing some of the stuff he did in Wano I thought was good towards the end. I mean, the mainland portion, it's not like he did anything. Usopp really didn't do shit all during Wano, period. Wow. But it's like, we'll probably get more here and there with them. Like, God willing, we go to Elbaf. Usopp is hopefully going to actually get some stuff there. Then again, I just read somebody bringing up that they were like, Chopper went to the land of cherry blossoms. That was like a whole thing in Drum Island, and he didn't mention it at all in Wano. And it's like, oh, wow, yeah, that does kind of suck. So, I don't know. I've been enjoying it, but I can't predict where this Egghead incident will go. And I'm so excited for it because I think when we come out or off of this long break, we are going to be getting back into the Egghead incident. We're going to be doing that. I think knowing that this surgery was coming up, Oda sort of closed off those loose ends. I think for right now, we're done with the Blackbeard and Law stuff. Law ran away with Beppo, or rather Beppo just drug him out of there. Kid got absolutely waxed. Useless Captain Mid for real. Wow. I think we're done with that Shanks and Kid stuff for now. Like, all of that's on the back burner, focuses on Egghead. And then, one last thing to do before going on this long break, he finished out the Reverie flashback. I think we're done seeing the Reverie stuff, we're done seeing the Sabo stuff, and now we get into the Egghead incident, which is hard to predict. Because we have 100 ships coming. When we saw all the little like vice admirals and stuff on them, we saw Borsellino or Kizaru, we saw J. Garcia Saturn. When we saw them, we didn't see Smoker, but we know that they mentioned before, Smoker's like already there or on his way there. So Smoker's going to be a part of this arc. I think that's going to be really cool. I don't know if Tashigi will or if she's going to stay at the base with the children. But Smoker's going to be part of the Egghead incident, which I think is really, really, really cool. Again, there was all the Morge Smoker for Straw Hat theories that actually kind of won me over after a while, because I'm like, when you think about Smoker's character, he went around the whole journey around the world with the Straw Hats. He started out at Logtown, and he's been in Alabasta, he's been in Marineford, been in Punkazard, now again he's going to be in Egghead. He's made the trip around the world the whole way. And also, Kobe exists, and Kobe's whole thing was his dream was to be an admiral, to be like a high-ranking officer in the Marines, but that like kind of overlaps character-wise a little bit with the other sort of guy we've seen climbing the ranks of the Marines, Smoker. But Smoker, his dream isn't necessarily that, or at least he's never said it was. His dream is just, you know, bringing what he thinks is justice. And he obviously doesn't mind working with pirates here and there. So, again, not saying he'll join the Straw Hats or anything, but I do think it's going to be nice to see how he interacts with them. And even if he doesn't join them, if Smoker is maybe going to help the Straw Hats during the Egghead incident against the Marines. Because again, I think that we've seen that building more and more with his character. Every arc he's in, he's getting to like be closer and closer with pirates and to start seeing them as noble and just, where he's seeing more and more of the dark sides of the world government. So that's going to be cool to see. Smoker's definitely going to be there. And we have a Blackbeard ship coming. I don't think this is going to be legit Blackbeard, much to the disappointment of a lot of people, because I think that the Egghead stuff is happening at the same time as everything else that's going on. It's happening at the same time as the Winter Island stuff, the same time as the Hachinosu stuff. So on Hachinosu, we saw, is his name San Juan Wolf? I think that's his name. We saw him. We saw the Vasco shots. We saw Avalo Pizarro, and we saw Kuzan, right? I think we saw 4 of them, and I'm interested. What's going to happen with Perona and Moria? I'm interested in like that subplot as well. I want to see more of them. I want to see more of this Hachinosu stuff, but I don't think we will for a while. I think we're gonna be away from that for a while, and it's just gonna have to be one of those things that One Piece puts in the back of your mind, and you gotta wait for it. So there's that stuff going on. So those 4 are there. I can't remember if there was a 5th there or not. But Blackbeard himself, of the 10 Titanic captains, he had with him, he had Jesus Spurgis, Sniper Guy Van Auger, and there was one more who was with him. Yeah, Doc Q. So that's 7, right? Are we missing 3? We're missing Katarina Devon, the guy with the wings. I'm forgetting his name, Lafitte. So we're missing Katarina, Lafitte, and I think somebody else was on. I think whatever the last one is that I'm forgetting here. I think maybe I did list 5 on Hachinosu. I think the other one's on Hachinosu. So I think this ship showing up is maybe just going to be Katarina and Lafitte, which I'm cool with. I think we shouldn't get into a big scale thing with the Blackbeard Pirates yet. I think the Blackbeard Pirates need to be like one of the last enemies we deal with. So I feel like them messing around in this arc, but not being like the direct antagonists, is really good. I mean, I've seen a theory that maybe since the world government was like, hey, we're not working with York, take out all the Vegapunks, that York as a backup plan was like, hey, Blackbeard Pirates, do you want the world genius Vegapunk on your side? So they might be wanting York. I think that Vegapunk, there's a really good chance that Vegapunk dies here, because there's the fact that he has all of this knowledge, all of this information. I think that York might survive and be captured by the government or the Blackbeard Pirates so that they have a Vegapunk, and maybe one of the Vegapunk bodies, but not the Stella, will survive and go off with maybe Bonnie and the Revolutionaries. Because I'll talk about Bonnie in a second. I think maybe they will, but I think Stella dies here. I just think having this super ultra genius with all this information, and they gave their information, they gave their lore dump to the Straw Hats. I think they die, and one of the big things with the Egghead incident is the death of Vegapunk. And again, we know that Shaka contacted Dragon and said, hey, I'm dying soon. So because he contacted Dragon and said, hey, I'm dying soon, we got the stuff with Kuma climbing the red line again. We got the stuff with Sabo explaining what happened at the Reverie. So there's the Straw Hats, there's the Marines, and there's the Blackbeard Pirates, which I don't think are going to be a huge role in this. They're just going to kind of be messing around in the background. At least I don't want them to be a huge role yet. But with who shows up to help the Straw Hats, because it is like Buster Call massively larger than O'Hara, basically. I think that the 2 options are the Grand Fleet, because we know they're supposed to be in like a part of some sort of incident in the future. Personally, I think it's a kind of a little early to bring the Grand Fleet back for this. I mean, we could. I think maybe the incident they were talking about was the attempted assassination thing with Sai and Leo with the Reverie. That could maybe be part of it, or it could just be the final war. I think it's a bit too early, or depending on if the Sabo stuff is happening at the same time as Egghead or not, that's the thing. The timeline, it's all about the timeline. And we're getting introduced to like the vice captains of the Revolutionaries. I think the Revolutionaries could come be a part of the Egghead incident. Like that's the question I have. Is it going to be the Grand Fleet? Is it going to be the Revolutionaries? Or is nobody going to come to help the Straw Hats? It's just going to be the Straw Hats. Maybe Smoker flips sides to help them out. And of course, Bonnie and Vegapunk are their allies. And we'll have to wait and see what happens with the Seraphim. I think the Seraphim are either going to be destroyed or end up working with the government. Just because it gives more strong fighters to the government for the final war. But we'll see. They could always be destroyed here, and we could always see the 3 that we were seeing be sent after Crocodile get taken out by Crocodile and Mihawk. Yeah, don't know about that. We'll have to wait and see where that goes as well. That's another thing we've cut away from that I doubt we'll see for a while. Because I think that it's been, what, 10 chapters or so since we cut away from that big Egghead incident narrator speech, and we've been seeing other stuff happen around the world. I think that we were wrapping all that up so that when we come back, we get back into the Egghead stuff. So it's interesting. I don't know exactly where it's going to go. We haven't seen Caribou in a while. I'm going to be on the copium that maybe Carrot was within Caribou. Maybe Carrot heard the dream that Luffy spoke of from inside of Caribou, inside of the barrel. Just because I mentioned before that there's one thing that still bothers me with Wano. Most of the stuff, it's like, okay, Yamato was an ass character who got no development. Did I care about that before Wano? No. Do I care about it after? Why bother? I do think there's going to be more development for Yamato in the future, getting into the final war and stuff, but that's story for another day. But the one thing that does still bother me, like all this other stuff, it's like, it sucks, but we're out of Wano now. We're back to One Piece, out of Wano Piece. I can just forget about it. The one thing I can't forget about is how well Carrot was written before Wano. Even in mainland Wano, Carrot didn't get much focus, but we did get a few jumps here and there where we were seeing from her perspective, getting her thoughts. And we didn't get that with even some of the other Straw Hats, like Chopper or Usopp. But we were getting that with Carrot. And then we go into Onigashima. She's working directly with the Straw Hats. She's in all the group shots with them. And then nothing. And then the ending makes no sense. And because of how detailed all of the post-Wano stuff is, that's why I'm like, maybe Yamato's character was just, like, people are unhappy with it, but maybe it was just, this was always the way it was supposed to be. But Carrot's wasn't, like, Carrot's doesn't make any sense, because going back to Zoe is just listening to what Sparrow said. Going back to Zoe is not following Pedro's will at all. So none of that makes sense. It makes no sense. I think the biggest thing, if we got that scene where they're like, hey, you're going to be the head of Zoe now, and it doesn't make any sense, but then we get a goodbye scene where Carrot justifies it and she's like, hey, this is what I got to do, then I think, okay, that's shelved for now. Because there are a lot of characters like Momonosuke in Opening the Borders of Wano. That's in the Pluton stuff. That's going to be happening eventually. But it's shelved for now. We got that goodbye, and it's shelved for now. Like we do at the end of every arc. Like we did with Dory and Brogy all the way back when we left, what was it? Little Garden. Like we do every time we end an arc, we have the Straw Hats say their goodbyes, and we shelve it for now. And it's going to be important later. It's going to come back later, and it usually, generally, always does. But that's the one thing with Carrot. We got goodbyes from the Straw Hats to all of these incredibly minor characters that you want to say Carrot did nothing, they did like really nothing, but we still got goodbyes for them. And I would think, okay, Carrot is shelved for now. We're going to have Carrot go to Zoe. We're going to drop all this for now if we would have gotten a goodbye. But it seems strange, of all the characters that got goodbye scenes, Carrot didn't get one, which makes me think, okay, are we not shelving her for now? We haven't seen her in forever at this point. It's so odd. Like, that's the one thing from Wano that still bothers me, is how little sense that ending made for the character, and also how we never got a conclusion to shelve it for now. Like, we never got Carrot accepting that position. We never got Carrot saying goodbye to the Straw Hats. We never got Carrot leaving on Zoe. All of which would be kind of like Oda saying, okay, this is shelved for now. We never got any of that. So for this entire time, I've been like, okay, is she going to stow away? Like, why have we not shelved this? So a lot of people have been saying for forever, they're like, oh, Volume 8 is the one that mentions the killer rabbits. Volume 88 and Chapter 888 were the ones that focused on Carrot. Carrot specifically, in this last volume cover, we had the Yonko and Carrot taking the place where before it was those same four characters, but also Sengoku's goat. But we could have used any other like animal mascot from Zoe in that place instead. but we used Carrot. So Carrot is still like on Oda's mind. It's not like he's really trying to bury and say, hey fans, forget about Carrot. I went a little bit too hard earlier, but I didn't want to go that hard. So can you forget for a little while? But no, she's still being brought up in the volume cover. So people are saying because, yeah, 88, 888 and all that, maybe 1088 is a return for her. And I think that would be the most exciting thing for me, just because that is the one hanger-on from Wano that still does bother me personally. That I still find annoying, that I still find... Like everything else I can say, okay, it sucked, but it doesn't matter. Or it sucked, but I can move on for now. That's the one thing that I feel like wasn't good, but I also can't move on yet because it didn't have proper conclusion. We could always be getting a Carrot cover story because we're probably going to get another cover story pretty soon now that the Mad stuff is over. We've spent the past like dozen-ish almost chapters with the requests, so we'll probably start a new one soon. But I don't want that. Unless it's leading to her coming back in the main story, I don't want that. Plus, we had set up with Carrot and Moon stuff, with Carrot and Elbaf. So I don't know if she comes back at any of those points. It is weird, but I would love for her to come back at 1088. I think that would be great, and she could help the Strats out. Again, it's a big force coming towards them, so it's like, how much help is that? I honestly think... So, to get into future talks, let's talk about something that I said around the end of Wano when I was still making videos and everything. I said that I thought we would still have, I think it was 6, unless I'm forgetting one, 6 islands left in the story. And the islands that I said at the time, because everybody was always like, yeah, we're going to Elbaf next, we're going to Elbaf next. But I was like, I think we could be going to Vegapunk's Island next. And we didn't know it was Egghead, but I will take that. I was calling that we were going to Vegapunk's Island. I said we would need to go to Elbaf, Hachinosu, and to Vegapunk's Island before we went to Laugh-Tale. Those were like the 4 that I was like, those are 4 that we have to go to. We have to go to Vegapunk's Island because it's been set up so much with the Frankie stuff, with Punk Hazard, with Caesar and everything. I was like, we have to go there and see them again because why would Oda keep bringing it up? We have to go to Elbaf because, again, it's something that keeps getting brought up. Now, the Shanks and Kid stuff kind of makes me think, whoa, are we still going to Elbaf? But I think with the Saul stuff and learning more information, and now that we know that's the place to go to learn more information, we still need to find out who the guy with the burn scars is. I don't think it's Saul anymore. I think it's a completely new character. Maybe somebody else like Silver Axe or Wang Ji from the Rocks Pirates. Oda said that one time that when you see somebody with an eye patch that the story is like gonna get towards the end, I think maybe that person, the person with the burn scars, is the one with the eye patch, and they have the final poneglyph. But again, maybe that's Davy Jones. I've seen that floated out there, because we know Davy Jones was like a part of the Pirate Island stuff, the one who started the Davy back fight. So the burn scar guy with the final poneglyph is going to be important at some point. I think maybe Shanks was gathering his crew to go out, sort of making his final play. Since he was doing that, I think there is a good shot that maybe the Straw Hats go to Elbaf and Shanks has already left, and maybe it ties into finishing off Kid's character arc. I said before, when I made that video of what I thought was going to be left, that I thought we were going to end the old generation of Yonko at Elbaf. So I was like, sorry, I just spit. We're going to finish off Shanks's like role in Luffy story. I don't think that anymore. I think Shanks is way more important now than even before. And I said I think that's the place to finish out Big Mom's story. So Big Meme has been just like kind of jokingly discarded at this point. But one thing, when we have these enemy crews, we always have our battle with those enemy crews. Luffy said a bunch of times, I'm, like he said right at the beginning of the New World, I'm going to beat all of the Yonko and I'm going to like save Shanks for last. I think he could be at this point. We don't know how important he's going to be with all the Figureland stuff. But I think Blackbeard makes a lot of sense to be last. But he's like, I'm going to beat all of the Yonko. He tells Big Mom, I'm going to beat you. And then at Whole Cake, He doesn't even fight her. And then we have him beat Kaido, but he needed like, what, 16 assists, multiple full heals to beat Kaido. So I think this is the thing where he had to struggle and to lose a bunch before he could step up and beat Kaido. So I think that maybe Elbaf is the time Big Mom's pirates attack, because she has this, you know, thing with giants and everything. And this is where we get Luffy versus Big Mom. And Luffy, instead of needing all the power-ups, instead of needing all the assists, this is where Luffy just beats Big Mom. Beats a Yonko, not like with Kaido where he gets a lower bounty because he was technically still weaker than Kaido or whatever, but where he actually just 1v1 beats a Yonko. I think that could be Elbaf. And then the other one I mentioned was Hachinosu. Hachinosu was mentioned all the way back in Long Ring Longland, which again, shout out to this thing I've been saying about Long Ring Longland. They say all like the animals there were long because they were free or something like that. But that makes me think all of the arcs in One Piece are always important for the future. They always come back to be important later. And everybody's like, yeah, except for introducing Aokiji, there's nothing important about Long Ring Longland. I think it introduced the Davy Back fight, which is going to be important in the future. I think whether it's Davy Back against Blackbeard's crew or against Shanks's crew, it's going to be important in the future. I think it set up the Pirate Island. It was the first time we heard of the Pirate Island mentioned. Then way later we get introduced to Hachinosu, and it is called the Pirate Island. It's obviously very important. It's the Blackbeard Pirates base. It was the Rocks Pirates base. Rocky Port incident happened there. Like, it's very, very important. That was introduced. And I also think it could have been hinting at somebody used the Nika fruit there before. And that's why, like, the island and all the animals are all stretched out because somebody awakened the Nika fruit there before. That's my theory with Long Ring Longland. But yeah, I think those three we definitely need to do. And the more I'm reading, the more I'm like, I said those four were necessary. The three I mentioned, what was it? Egghead, Elbaf, and Hachinosu before we do Laugh Tale. And I said there were two that I think we probably will go to, but maybe not. And those two are the Moon, or something Moon related, and Lodestar. Now, Lodestar is the official end of the Grand Line, the furthest you can get with a log pose, but they don't technically need to go there because they are looking for Laugh Tale. But I still think the Straw Hats will probably go to Lodestar, at least for a few chapters. Logetown was what, like 6 to 8 chapters? I think we might also get a short 6 to 8 chapters with Logetown being like this prologue where Lodestar is going to be the last thing maybe before we're going into Laugh Tale. I think we'll stop there so the Straw Hats like get that official mark of, yes, they finished the charted Grand Line, even if they only go there for a little bit. But the Moon, I'm thinking, is more and more and more likely because of Bonnie. So we have seen, even if it's a small role, all of the supernovas have been important, and all the past villains, except for like the beginner East Blue ones, all the past villains have come back into the story and been important. So have all of the supernovas. There's one supernova and one past villain that hasn't come back in and been important yet, and they both have a really close connection, those being Rouge, who is the last one left after Bonnie who hasn't gotten his moment, and Enel, who hasn't been back in the main story to be a part of it. Both of them have that like Birkin flying person connection, and both like have that connection. Enel's on the Moon, so I think more and more likely maybe that's how we escape Egghead, is the Straw Hats have to go to the Moon from Egghead to escape the Egghead incident. Egghead gets destroyed. It's this futuristic place. Vegapunk has a shuttle, or like converts. I could see us having this comedic, like when the Sunny had the wings and the chicken outfit, we could, or the Mary did, we could have the Sunny converted into like a rocket ship, and like rocket ship Sunny goes up to the Moon in a similar way that the flying Mary went up to the White Sea to go to the Sky Island. So I think the Moon could actually be the next arc before we even get to Elbaf or Hachinosu. So I really, more and more strongly, because we're having this important Bonnie stuff and Rouge is the last one we haven't done, I really think we're getting a like Moon/Sky Island arc. And it might be what comes up after Egghead. So yeah, that's another thing thrown out there. So Bonnie, I mentioned that I talk about Bonnie later. I almost forgot. So Bonnie's interesting. Bonnie has an interesting argument for Straw Hat, but I don't want her to be. Like, I like Bonnie as a character a lot, but I don't want her to be a Straw Hat. I think Bonnie and whatever of the surviving Vegapunks should go back to the revolutionaries. I think that the revolutionaries have been down an important spot for the entirety of the story so far, and that's Kuma. And now Bonnie is getting Kuma's memories. So Bonnie, I think, needs to carry on Kuma's will and take Kuma's place in the revolutionaries, and sort of fill that missing slot there in the revolutionaries. So I think that's where Bonnie should go. Plus, she has this connection with Sabo now. That's personally what I think should like happen with Bonnie. But she's getting this sad backstory. If we're going for the sort of devil fruits being the numbers or whatever, now Luffy's a Hito Hito no Mi as well. He's not the Gomu Gomu anymore, and I'm pretty sure that Bonnie's fruit can be 5656. So I don't know. I've also seen the theories that Vivi could get the Pawpaw fruit, the Nikyu Nikyu no Mi. I just don't know how she's going to get the fruit since Kuma is dying so far away, but it does make sense that that would be how Lily sent the poneglyphs out into the world. Gosh, I haven't talked about how cool the Gorosei are yet and how silly some of their names are, but I kind of like it. I kind of like the silly names. I haven't talked about them. I haven't talked about how cool all the emu reveals were. There's so much cool stuff, but me personally, I've always just liked the characters, the character development, the micro stuff, the tiny things that are happening on the arc we're at. I love the world building, of course, but I think the world building is there to serve the characters and their development and the small scale stuff that we see, not the other way around. So I don't know. I really love all of that stuff. I think it was handled really, really well. So often I read manga and we get an explanation for what's going on. We get some world building and I'm like, don't really like that. I'm not a fan of that. And it kind of like even lessens my enjoyment a bit. But One Piece totally wasn't. I've liked all of the reveals we've got so far. I'm like, wow, all of this makes so much sense, had so much build up. I like Ivankov being incredibly smart. Ivankov being like, okay, so Vegapunk apparently made this weapon. What if it's an ancient weapon? And a lot of people have said, he mentioned the fuel source for this. What if the Mother Flame or Mother Frame is the fuel source for the final ancient weapon, Uranus? So there's that. I also like how of course, a million people have said it, the ancient weapons are what? Uranus and Poseidon, which is Neptune, and Pluton, and then the other planets are the Gorosei. Like, oh, that's really, really cool. That's really cool. Yeah, sorry, getting distracted, losing my train of thought. So yeah, Bonnie's got cool stuff going on. That was what I got distracted with. I said I think she should go to the Revolutionaries. There's probably a bunch more that I forgot to talk about, but this is going on 40 minutes, so I kind of probably want to end this. The only thing I want to end it with, for those of you that have stuck through this long, I might do more One Piece videos. I want to ask you all, do you want more One Piece videos? Because now that I haven't been doing reactions, I'm a sucker for spoilers. But if you want more One Piece videos, I will actually avoid spoilers and do reactions and do more One Piece content if you want it, because I am enjoying the stuff now. The One Piece brain rot has returned. I've been brought back around. Especially if Carrot comes back, that would like cement, okay, I want to do One Piece again. That would again be the one thing, the one qualm I have solved if Garrett comes back. But yeah, I guess that's it. If you want me to do more videos, let me know. I think this is the perfect time coming back from this long break. If you want me to do more discussions, if you have specific theories or aspects of the story you want me to talk more about, I am sure that I've forgotten stuff that I wanted to talk about, just because of the nature of doing this type of video, and because so much has happened. I'm again just trying to run through things in my head. Again, there's probably more stuff that I have much deeper, in-depth thoughts on, but I was just trying to touch on everything and talk in general about this. But yeah, I suppose that's it for now. Thank you for watching. Again, let me know if you want more. I kind of want to do more, just because of how I've been enjoying it lately. Sorry, grabbing my mouse. Thank you so much for watching. Like if you did like the video, and comment down there to tell me what you thought of this video, my thoughts on all this stuff. What your thoughts are. Are there any questions you want me to answer? Any specific topics you want to talk about? Let me know down in the comments. We can talk in the comments. Or if you want a link to the Discord server, it's free and open for anyone. We can talk there. If you want to follow me on Twitter, we can talk there. I really love talking to everybody. So just, again, if you want to have me read anything, even if it's not something I can really respond to, if you want to get any statements out there, just say them in the comments. I'll read them. If you want to talk about anything, again, just hit me up any of those places, whether the comments or Twitter or Discord, and I'll totally talk with everyone. That's always what I try to do with everybody who watches my stuff. Subscribe for more if you want more. I've got tons of other manga and anime and webtoons and so much on the channel. Follow on Twitter, I already said that. So if you want to help support the channel, you can do super thanks down there below. Or, you know, if you want to get something out of it yourself, you can become a patron or a channel member. It's patreon.com/Haku of the Tubes, or a link will be in the description. Or you can just hit join down below to become a channel member. You, at the very least, don't know if I'll do more for them in the future, but you, at the very least, get a shout out here at the end. Thank you to people who are already patrons and channel members. Thank you to Chosen Regular, Evan Hawley, Magical Girls FR Nono and Huariyun, Cherryton Student, David Langstaff, and Slayer Candidate SG. Thank you so much. I'm certain my thoughts were not as organized as they could have been, not as in-depth as they could have been, but this is all from the top of my head. Yeah, I didn't really prepare for this at all ahead of time. I have just been speaking completely extemporaneously. Either way, that's it. Thank you to all of them. I'm pretty sure I named everybody off, but if I didn't, I'm sorry. I forgot. Again, I keep bringing up the scene from Shrek 2, unless, of course, I cannot find you or if I forget. Should have said everything. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I'll do more, and I'll see you all next time.